Hello and welcome to the Circuit Breakers interview series. I'm your host, Steve Semler. Today I'm joined by Zach Gunderson, who's the co-founder and CEO of Xylo AI, Minnesota company supporting clients with all sorts of developmental tools to write better, think better, connect with people, which I think is kind of cool. It's caught my attention here. So Zach, thank you for joining us. Would you like to kick us off with a little bit about who you are and Xylo and what you do?
Sure. I can lead with just a succinct headline about the, kind of the value prop that we provide at Xylo, which is socially intelligent AI for service-oriented teams. If you've got folks on your team that are in a service-oriented role, which look, it could be external, client-facing, that's really powerful. It could be internal. You've really got a service-oriented role. You need to communicate well with other human beings to move the ball forward, to achieve business outcomes. We can help. And we can help with social intelligence, with emotional intelligence, with EQ. Because if you use an AI, generative AI, whatever you want to call it, to improve business communication that doesn't have social intelligence, which is our patented, what our patented models do, you're going to get, I hope this email finds you well, Steve. And you're going to get some pretty generic outputs, or you're going to get, people copying and pasting into ChatGPT and back and forth and exposing your data to train other large language models. You get none of that with Xylo, and you get social intelligence to support you with all the bells and whistles of what the best generative AI productivity tools can provide. That's what we do. That's who we are. And as far as who I am, I'm Zach. Some people call me Gundo, Zach Gunderson. I personally married for over 15 years now. Five kids, 11, 9, 7, double fours, almost killed us. We survived. Best thing in my life. And I came up in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, Twin Cities kid, up in the northwest suburbs. Was a Cooper kid, then was a Carlson School of Management graduate. Did some things in the religious world, I would say. Also sold things into Target. Ended up in a brokerage, running some larger brands there. Eventually brands as large as, Scunsy, we grew from 30 million to $150 million a year over 5 years, things like this. Really got into learning how to work and surf a market and understand and read consumer data. And then also as a district manager at Aldi, managing a lot of their larger stores for your Twin Cities listeners, that South Minneapolis stores and North Minneapolis stores, and then a lot of the suburban stores. The University and Lexington store in St. Paul, that thing was growing like crazy when the light rail first went up, things like that. So that's where I came from. But always was entrepreneurial, always got closer and closer to trying to be in the place of, we've got a business idea. How do we execute it? And as I did that, eventually found an opportunity with AI, who I think saw the problem that had always plagued me in my previous career. And it's kind of how we built Xylo.
Yeah. And this is, patented level of unusual, insight here to have the social intelligence and the walls around the privacy. So the data is kept internal. It's not, exfiltrated or shared.
Yeah.
How did that come out as like, hey, I should make a business out of this?
Sure. I mean, what you just said, and what, like, if you look at our site, that's why you're getting this, like, wow, you guys are doing this and there's no data exposure, like, that's really cool. I would say that actually came later, after starting. So the idea of what the core is of what, I guess, the vision for applying AI as a regular human being, I would say, not a nerd. No offense. Well, I'm nerdy in certain aspects, but not a coder, not super technical, not in that world. How do we bring this in to solve a problem that we've had with it? That came first, and then finding the problem that we were going to solve that was specific enough to attack a specific market came second. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying. There's 100 steps, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then getting to what you're saying, and how do we do it in a way that is private and doesn't expose your data and all this? That was after we identified what we needed to accomplish and said, what does the market need for a product like this? That's when we, and I would credit our CTO, Roger Lamb, with the strategy to do it in the way you just described. And you probably have to have him on. Well, he's from Wisconsin, so maybe he doesn't count for your podcast, but I'd be, happy to make the introduction. But yeah, there is, that side came after we identified the market, the problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how does it, I had noticed in another podcast you did, it's individualized. So it's not just like there's like best practices for writing. You can just say that. You just like give the AI, here, follow, these are best practices. But it's actually using like, an underlying behavioral model like DISC or something. So that it's learning, it looks like it's learning the person and encouraging them to write better and to be able to flex to other people's styles. And if I've got a different kind of style, it's going to give me different feedback.
Right. Yeah, and Steve, I just want to say, for your listeners' sake, I told Steve I can't sit still. I'm famous on my team for it. I'm sorry. And he said it's okay. He said it's authentic to your style. I got my afternoon cuppa here. So forgive me. But yes. So I would say, if I think about what are the three things that especially differentiate us from other AI solutions for the enterprise, is that we are hyper-personalized. One, we are inter-personalized.
Yeah.
And then we don't train on your data unless you want us to. We do have an option. You can opt in to help make things better, et cetera, but we have a way to harness the power of that or using other data, so we can do it without exposing training on your data. So those three. And what you referenced, you said, you actually kind of referenced something that in my opinion dabbles in both. So I'll dichotomize it this way, is that an interpersonal means is more what you're talking about from a DISC perspective, behavioral psychology perspective. Hey, I'm a super direct person. You and your listeners already know this. Steve knew this before he hit play on the interview we met. Steve he's a learner. He's going to soak it in. I don't think he's super direct. He's a little bit more indirect as a communicator, right? And if we can say that, and we can help folks understand that and understand the difference, we can help. That's interpersonal. Hyper-personal would be, what's your style? Yes. And then what's the interpersonal connection? How far, by the way, how far do we go? We don't want to psychoanalyze you too much because that's creepy, right? And then we got to make sure we're not storing things but we can make a broad assumption and give tips that are supportive and helpful, right, to folks. And then from a hyper-personalized perspective, it is, what is your writing style? What is your style? So when we have enough writing copy from you, we can understand what you write like. And then when you give a prompt into our application to say, write an email to Zach in this manner, it can adopt to both of those things. The understanding of the slight difference in our styles, but also the understanding of how I write emails in my stylometry, so that it is still authentic to me. And a little beyond that, I won't go too much. I will just say there's an aspect of contextualization, and something I like to call user calibration that goes in with that as well, that helps fight against any hallucination of the models that make outputs that are problematic. Now, I think the first defense against outputs that are problematic or hallucinatory with AI, the first defense is having a human in the loop product, which we have. And I just can't tell you how I would talk about that till the cows come home. We're not headed for AGI. We need the human in the loop. It makes us better. It does not replace us. And I really don't see that future in most applications in business. There are some that it can, of course. I better stop there. I heard my wife say, tell Alexa to stop, and it told me to stop. So you can talk, Steve. I'm sorry.
Yeah. In setting this, in setting us all in motion, what are some of the challenges that have kind of come up to putting this into a business, to making this business work?
Could you rephrase the question?
Sure. So as you've gotten Xylo AI started, what are some of the things that have been most challenging, the difficulties or challenges or problems to work through?
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Maybe that's why I needed the rephrase. The list is too long. Yeah. So we're a true 0 to 1 company, right? So I think that, like, for me, coming out of the consumer package, mass markets, consumer packaged goods, learning to build a tech product, assemble a tech team, attract tech talent, build something that the market loves with technology, when you have been mostly delivering things like hair scrunchies and car seats for a decade, and managing and selling groceries. I'm just going to go on that up front because investors always are wondering about that. But look, that's a challenge. That's a challenge to be adaptive and to get there and to find the right team to do it. I think that was a challenge. I think also as a market, generative AI has been developing over the last couple of years, right? And I think it's going to continue. Being in a new market, learning how to adapt that, learning what folks are looking for, how to find their pain, solve their pain, and find the product that works best for them. But yeah, probably if you're going to ask me for one, it's the first one. It's learning to transition career-wise. It's also been probably the most fun I've ever had in my life. So
yeah, because it sounds like it's a mindset shift and a skill set shift at the same time.
Yeah. In my role as CEO, Steve, as crazy as it sounds, it's not that different than how I made my bones in my previous work I did in the church before. To just it's leading people, and I think you and I talked that a little bit, and that's what you all are about to a large degree. It's I'll leave it there, right? I think that's really, that part's not that different. You have a vision, etc. But sometimes actually being the outsider can help you have a better vision. But if you, as CEO, cannot lead people, bring people together, get people working together to accomplish like important things, hold people accountable, like all the things that I'm sure you coach and teach.
Yeah.
It don't really matter what you're doing, right? I don't know.
Yeah, because like we were saying before, it's if you're a techie or if you're a salesperson or if you're in operations or supply chain, those are functional skills, but then there's the management leadership stuff over the top. Yeah. So moving from consumer goods to AI that helps people communicate better, there's the functional shift. And now you've got a technical team, an awesome technical team.
Category shift more than anything else. I love how you just put that, and I never would have said it that way until right now. So thanks for that. But yeah, you're leading people, but you are the similarities of what we're building is something for ultimately long-term a mass market. It's AI and AI applications are becoming a mass market thing that is evolving. And what I did launching dozens of brands over the years in various capacities in my target career, or leading teams at Oldie and also making sure that those teams work together to deliver the best experience for our customers. There's a difference in category, but vertically or horizontally, it was much different, which is interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's a learning shift.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Shift up.
There's no learning or adapting. Oh my goodness. Yeah. You got to learn what is this thing and what is that thing and what's this word. I mean, I tell my team all the time, I'm like, here's a famous quote. I don't want to sound like a yokel. That's the word that my team will laugh at when I use the yokel. YOKEL. tell me how to say this. In my old world, we said it that way, but here you say it that way. And if I walk into a meeting with an expert and I say it my old way, he thinks I'm a yokel. It sounds silly, but nomenclature matters, right? And then you build that up to understanding the puts and takes, the feasibility of something, right? Versus, hey, we're going to change this aspect of a scrunchie, right? Like, I eventually, even though it wasn't my direct role, would learn, oh, no, we can't make that change. I can't promise that to the customer because it takes this retooling, et cetera, et cetera. In AI, I might be like, oh, we can't change that. And Roger might say, actually, no, we can do it like in 2 seconds. And I'm like, great. Other things I think are easy that aren't, right? So there definitely is a learning curve. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've been working on recently, I mean, I've been doing business simulations and leadership training since like 97. And earlier, if you count the military, like we were talking before.
You should go to the military. You should just quote that year. That's good.
Yeah, I should include it. Yeah. I've been finding ways to use generative AI in the simulation building and the leadership stuff that I'm doing. So I'm just trying to keep up to date and use the tools that are available too. And that's kind of what fascinated me about your journey too, with moving into this new space. And it made me wonder, so what are the things, maybe this is just a continuation of the previous questions. Like, what are the things you have to keep up with as you're in this space now?
Mm, mm. This might be a controversial answer for a tech founder. It might be. But to me, if you have a vision for something that's differentiated and you've zoned in on it appropriately and built some defensibility around it, step 1 or step 1, 2, 3, whatever. And if you talk to consumers, or I would say you talk to the users of the problem and the pain point that you think you can solve, and those have corroborated that they have a pain point, and you've shown them something in your usabilities that show that you can, and you've brought some of those users in, and those users can corroborate through continuing to use the product that, yeah, it's doing that. Now you go to, we got to talk to customers. Can you sell it to them and say, these users are going to use it, it solves their problem, that problem saves you money? Yeah, you have done those things, and I do believe that's kind of where we're at here at Xylo. You actually need to go tunnel vision and say, sure, you're going to keep up on some stuff, but it's moving too fast. When you talk about AI, I mean, this is probably your experience, and maybe even Steve, why you asked the question, even or right? It's like, I built this cool thing, and now this thing can just do the thing. Why did I do that? And I didn't just write that, or whatever. We've had these experiences, and I had them too. This is a Minnesotaism. When I talk to investors from Silicon Valley or other places, I'm like, I say the statement, they have no idea. They just give me a weird look, but you'll know that we're skating to where the puck is going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the puck is going, in my opinion, with AI, actually, if it's not already there, is the commoditization of feature and function. The commodity, what generative AI is able to do and deliver is relatively commoditized across the board. And so what we need to ask ourselves is not what function am I going to use to replicate? It's where's this thing going, and how do I need to change my mindset and my workflow to incorporate that? I don't necessarily need to become a prompt engineering master or even an AI master, which everybody says you need to do, or you'd be wrong. But you need to think about your career or your company in the light of that, in the light of the fact that the coolest thing you see AI doing right now will happen for free, and it will be productized by somebody within 3 years at most. And if you don't keep that in mind, you're going to fall behind as a startup like ours, as a business company that wants to evolve, or as an individual contributor.
Yeah. And that's where keeping your eye on where the puck is going to be
Correct.
Like
Correct.
Lewis with
Not just your
race.
eye, my friend, your legs. Go.
Yeah.
Don't go slow. If you can look at where the puck is going, if you ain't running there, or if you ain't skating there, you're just gonna watch it go. I've been in a hockey game like that. I don't know about you. Like, I can't get to the puck. No. That's where the puck is going. Go.
Yeah. Go to where it's going to be. And there's a like a race car driver analogy too. I'm not watching where I'm going. My eyes aren't where I am going right in front of me. My eyes are where I want to be, and that leads me to steer in the right direction.
I haven't heard
I
that.
found fascinating.
Yeah.
The if you could wave a magic wand over your business and make one thing better or relieve like a key obstacle, what would that be at this point?
Oh, I mean, there's so much, right? There's always so much you want to make better. I don't know if you're a strengths finder guy, but I'm a restorative number one. I always want to fix it. I always want to make it a little better.
Strategic and learning. Go figure.
Yeah, right. I do want to pick one though. I feel like that should be my job. So I should pick one. We're in Outlook right now, and are about to launch our web application that's agnostic of platform, and Gmail is coming soon. So I think if I could wave a magic wand and bring Gmail here right today, I would do that. So we might actually have a magic wand that was waved. It's just lagging a little. It's not quite. Yeah. It's coming.
Yeah. Okay. Let me wrap up with kind of my standard kind of fun question for what advice would you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs in the tech sector who are just starting out who are facing challenges in their own businesses?
Gentlemen, watch your costs. That's what I would say. Gentlemen, watch your costs is one that's I thought that was Carnegie or Rockefeller. I think it was Carnegie. Gentlemen, watch your costs. Two, which is probably where I got that quote. Watch the Founders podcast. Have you ever watched that podcast, Steve, or listened to it?
Yeah, I've got the Founders Trap in mind, but not the.
Yeah, Founders, just one word, no apostrophe, nothing. David Semler, I think 2 N's. I couldn't I've listened over 100 this year. I'm a super fan, and I think it just really helps as you're thinking about starting a company. Whether you're trying to start something as big as what the folks he will talk about, he talks about history's greatest founders. You can find Mark Twain in there if you would like. Actually, I think that was my very first episode was Mark Twain. It was great. And of course, the Winston Churchill, you can get any, Steve Jobs, there's like 5 of them. So highly recommend it because getting in the mind of those folks, especially those that have already passed away and learned and gone through all of life, there's so much learnings from that. Yeah. I would say do that. And then gentlemen, watch your costs is one. It really is. You need to think about what you're spending money and why for at all times, especially early on. And yeah. Then maybe the YC mantra, build something people want. Make sure you're talking to your customers. To Bezosism, make sure you are right. Not just building something in a vacuum. That's you're not. Those would be mine.
Cool. Yeah, and that's going to be helpful. And thank you for your time today, Zach.
Anytime, Steve. Thank you.
Really good to chat and hear a little bit more. I'll be looking for that Gmail, that Google integration here coming up because
watch our LinkedIn. It'll come right up. Yeah.
And to those folks watching here on the podcast or listening in, when you're faced with challenges in your own business, consider these tips. Consider what Zach's been, telling you about the experience and the learning and the leadership. Watch your costs. And feel free to reach out to me for coaching and training support. As always, I'm Steve Semler here at FocalPoint LearningSim, helping techies be great leaders. Looking forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thanks.